Dr. Grant Patrick. The Redheads, Unforgettable Grandpa's Fairy Tales. Chapter 10. The Heartwood Tree. The forest pulsed with life, each heartbeat a rhythmic echo of the Redheads' determined strides. Their footsteps reverberated like a war drum, matching the urgency swelling within them. Every step brought them closer to their Heartwood Tree, the ancient sentinel standing at the core of their world. Rooted deep within the earth, its energy radiated like a protective embrace across the forest. Yet, as they pressed forward, an invisible weight settled over them, the oppressive tension of a storm about to break. Liam led the way, his heart hammering against his ribs. The air around them was taut, charged with a silent warning. "Stay close," he called back, his voice firm. "The Lord of Shadows won't have made this easy for us. Be on guard." Behind him, Aiden's fiery determination blazed in his eyes. "Whatever traps is set, we'll face them together." "We've got this," he said, his tone unyielding. The group forged ahead, weaving through the forest's twisting paths. Sunlight filtered through the canopy above, its golden warmth dappled on the ground below. But as they ventured deeper, the vibrant greens and browns of the forest faded, giving way to an oppressive darkness that clung to the trees like an unwelcome visitor. Emma, walking beside Liam, scanned their surroundings with sharp, watchful eyes. "Something's wrong," she murmured, her voice low. "It's too quiet." Sean, his brow furrowed, glanced around uneasily. "The forest isn't supposed to be silent," he muttered. "The animals know something we don't. We need to move faster." The tension thickened as they navigated the narrowing trails. A faint rustling sound broke the eerie stillness, prickling at their nerves. They froze, exchanging uneasy glances. "What was that?" Tard asked, gripping his staff tightly. "Keep moving," Liam urged, his voice steady despite the unease gnawing at him. "We can't afford to let fear slow us down." But the forest seemed to have other plans. The rustling grew louder, morphing into guttural howls that sent a chill racing down their spines. A biting breeze swept through the clearing, carrying with it a sinister whisper that lingered in their ears. From the shadows, dark figures began to emerge, twisted silhouettes creeping forward like a nightmare brought to life. These were no ordinary creatures, they were the corrupted minions of the Lord of Shadows, grotesque parodies of the forest's inhabitants. Their glowing eyes burned with malice, and their deformed limbs stretched hungrily toward the Redheads, eager to drag them into the darkness. "Get ready!" Liam shouted, stepping instinctively in front of Emma. His voice rang out, steady and commanding. "We fight together, no one stands alone." The Redheads swiftly formed a defensive circle, their breaths quick and shallow as adrenaline coursed through their veins. Magic surged through their bodies, manifesting as a shimmering aura that surrounded them like a protective shield. "Focus on the light," Niamh commanded, her voice steady and clear, cutting through the chaos. "The light will drive them back." As the dark creatures surged forward, the Redheads unleashed bursts of vibrant magic. Brilliant beams of energy erupted from their hands, illuminating the clearing with a kaleidoscope of color. The creatures recoiled, their shadowy forms flickering and twisting as the light clashed against their darkness. Aiden stepped to the forefront, gripping his staff tightly. With a determined swing, he sent a surge of magic forward, forming a glowing barrier that stood firm against the advancing menace. "Hold the line. They must not break through." Behind him, Roisin raised her hands, summoning a wall of thorns that erupted from the earth with a sharp crack. The barrier, dense and unyielding, coiled protectively around the group, providing a momentary reprieve. "Don't let them pass," she cried, her voice tinged with urgency. The creatures shrieked in frustration, clawing at the magical barriers with jagged limbs of darkness. Their attacks were relentless, but the Redheads held their ground. With every pulse of shared magic, their connection strengthened, and Liam felt a surge of confidence as he met the determined gazes of his friends. "On my mark," he shouted, his voice carrying the weight of both authority and camaraderie. "Together!" At his signal, the Redheads pooled their energies, their magic converging into a single, blinding force. With a deafening roar, they unleashed it in unison, a brilliant explosion of light that surged outward like a tidal wave. The clearing was bathed in radiant colors, and the dark creatures were thrown back, their forms dissipating into shadows that scattered like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. As the last echoes of darkness faded, the Redheads stood in silence, their breaths heavy and hearts racing. The tension lingered, but they knew they had won this skirmish. Still, the weight of what lay ahead pressed heavily upon them. "Keep moving," Liam urged, his tone resolute as he scanned the clearing for any remaining threats. "We don't have time to waste." With renewed determination, they pushed forward, weaving through the forest paths. The air grew heavier with each step, its oppressive weight pressing against their chests. It was as if the forest itself shared their unease. Finally, they emerged into a wide clearing, and there stood the heartwood tree. Towering and ancient, its immense trunk seemed to pulse faintly with life. Its branches stretched skyward like a silent plea, and its shimmering leaves cast a faint, golden glow that danced in the soft light. "We made it," Aoife breathed, her voice trembling with both relief and unease. "But it doesn't look right." The tree, usually vibrant and full of life, seemed muted. Its roots writhed faintly in the earth, as though unsettled. Liam approached cautiously, a chill creeping down his spine. Emma stepped closer, her fingertips brushing the tree's bark. "Something's wrong," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "The heartwood tree is the lifeblood of our forest, but its magic feels weakened." Before they could process her words, a voice, deep and resonant, rolled through the clearing like thunder. "You are too late, little Redheads." The Lord of Shadows emerged from behind the heartwood tree, his figure an ominous silhouette cloaked in impenetrable darkness. His presence exuded an air of malevolence that chilled the Redheads to their cores. "The magic of this tree is mine now," he declared, his voice reverberating like a storm's thunder. "With it, I will consume the very essence of your forest." "No." Liam stepped forward, instinctively shielding Emma with his outstretched arm. His tone was steady but firm, a blend of defiance and courage. "We won't let you take it." The Lord of Shadows let out a laugh that could curdle milk, his amusement dripping with mockery. "Children," he sneered. "Foolish, naive children. You think you can stand against me? I've already claimed this land, and soon, your very souls will belong to me." Liam glanced at his friends, their shared determination reflected in their eyes. They didn't need words, their bond said it all. The power of the heartwood tree might have been waning, but the fire in their hearts burned fiercely. "We'll see about that." Aidan shot back, stepping forward with a smirk that might have been brave, or a little reckless. "We've dealt with worse than you." "Well, maybe not uglier, but definitely worse." The dark figure's amusement turned to irritation, his hands rising as tendrils of shadow writhed like snakes around him. "Enough of your insolence. Prepare to meet your end." The first wave of dark energy surged toward them like a tsunami of despair, crackling with pure malice. The Redheads responded instinctively, summoning their magic into a barrier of shimmering light. The two forces collided with a thunderous boom, sending tremors through the earth. "Hold steady." Liam's voice rang out, cutting through the cacophony. "Focus on the heartwood tree. It needs us." They pivoted their attention to the ancient tree, channeling their magic into its roots. Slowly, the dim glow of the heartwood tree began to brighten, responding to their combined energy. Its bark shimmered faintly, a testament to its awakening. "We've got this," Roisin muttered, gritting her teeth as she poured more of her power into the effort. "Just don't let him catch us monologuing." The Lord of Shadows snarled, his dark tendrils striking the barrier with renewed fury. "You dare mock me?" "Only a little," Aidan quipped, though beads of sweat dotted his forehead. "Focus." Liam snapped, his tone not unkind but urgent. "Together, we can bring it back." The Redheads tightened their focus, their magic intertwining with the tree's essence. Vibrant strands of energy spiraled upward, weaving through the air like living threads. The heartwood tree came alive, its presence an undeniable beacon of power and hope. The Lord of Shadows let out an enraged howl as the tree's light intensified, pushing back against his darkness. "No. You will not take this from me." But the Redheads pressed on, united in their purpose. The heartwood tree's light burned brighter, slicing through the shadows and forcing the darkness to retreat. "Now!" Liam shouted, his voice brimming with determination. "Strike while he's weak." Pooling their energies for one final effort, the Redheads unleashed a concentrated beam of magic. The radiant light surged toward the Lord of Shadows, engulfing him in a brilliant explosion. "No," he bellowed, his voice laced with agony. "This isn't over. I will return. The light flared, swallowing him entirely. As his form vanished into the void, the oppressive stillness of the forest lifted, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. Breathless, the Redheads turned to the heartwood tree. Its leaves shimmered with renewed vitality, and its roots stretched firmly into the earth. We did it! Roisin exclaimed, breaking the silence. The heartwood tree is safe. But we can't let our guard down, Liam cautioned, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. The Lord of Shadows won't stop. We need to be ready. Emmer stepped closer, placing her hand gently on the tree's bark. We have the heartwood tree's magic now, she said softly, her eyes shining with determination. Together, we can face whatever comes next. Drawing closer, the Redheads felt their bond strengthen, their spirits buoyed by the battle they had won. Though the Lord of Shadows had been defeated, they knew their fight was far from over. Let's make sure we're ready for his return, Aidan said, his fiery determination unshaken. Next time, we'll show him who's boss. As the sun broke through the clouds, golden light cascaded across the forest. The Redheads took it as a sign, a promise that even in the darkest times, hope would prevail. Standing beneath the heartwood tree, they began to plan their next steps. United by their bond and the magic they had protected, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their journey was far from over, but they knew one thing for certain: together, they could overcome anything.